Okay. Like I forgot to mention before I started the video, we're going to go to San Diego, or Gitter IM, San Diego Vue.js lobby. And here we're going to be able to share code as we need it. I'll be passing you some API keys and stuff like that that we can use. So let's go over what we're going to be making today. I built this in the last couple of hours before the meetup.
Oh, good catch.
Oh yeah, thanks P-Lan. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating a little VueTube video player. I try to make something simple, so we're just going to be using Bootstrap, and we're going to be using all the bells and whistles of Vue.js. We're going to go into how to build things from scratch, how to how to use Vue Router, Vuex, and make sure that we maintain proper conventions for how to create components and stuff. And then lastly, how to integrate some cool stuff like Sass. And then if we have time, maybe put in some Burma with the help of Jason. Bulma. Okay. So if I search cat, you'll see that we'll get a bunch of results on the right. It's going to be live load, or it's just going to load as we type, so there's no debounce, so it's going to kill my quota. So we'll say cats, and then we click on the link here. It's going to open up the video, and we can play it. Then we can play click another one and play it. We'll do anything you want. You can search for another one, dogs, and pick the dogs. So very simple, but you'll be surprised at how much functionality is built into this. And we'll break it down step by step to see how two-way binding works and everything. Basically, it's how to set up everything and then get it deployed on the web. Because right now this is web accessible. So if you go to VueTube 27970.firebase.app.com, you'll be able to access this too. And for the record, I built this in an hour before this meetup. So I think if we times 3 that, we will be able to finish it today, thanks to Bootstrap, which we'll be using. I might be referencing my code a lot because I'm not going to remember everything I did on the spot.
It's like the little things when you type nothing.
Oh yeah. So this is a cat. It says search cat vids. So we'll be searching a lot of cat vids. Okay. So we'll basically we'll use Axios to fetch data from the YouTube API, and then we're going to render them here on the right. So let's get started. So first things first, let's do a few checks. I'll make sure that we have everything that we need. So if you go to npm-v, make sure that works. Make sure we're getting something. So if everybody's got something, we can move on. Who doesn't have a version number popping up? Okay. So there's a few things we want to install. So we're going to do npm install -g. We're going to install Vue-CLI. So let that run. I already have it installed, so it'll be pretty quick for me. But once your Vue CLI is installed, put your red sticky up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one has it. Might not have the latest version, though, so we'll try it.
There's like a point behind.
Oh,
Like
okay.
a minor. No. The third is
Minor release.
Maybe
Is it minor?
What's the third
Hotfix.
one?
Hotfix? Bug?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's taking longer than I thought. Cool. So let's go. Everybody's got their. Let me know when you got your Vue CLI installed with your sticky. It's pretty big. It's probably the longest one that's going to take out of all of them. Nope, not not working?
Well, I already have it. I think that you can install it.
I just had to update it today, so
Okay.
figured having the latest version in case something changed major. You never know.
You wanna watch us photos? You can see the flag.
Oh,
It'll
nice.
look like that in like 2
Such a
minutes.
geeky background.
Don't look. Stop looking at it now. It's motivation.
I can turn this on. Try to not do it so pseudo ones you have to use pseudo follow instructions after we get npm installed, and then Jason can get you cut up.
Oh,
All right, cool. Stickies down. All right. So let's go into our code directory where we maintain all our repos. So for me, it's code. Pretty easy. And we're going to do a init. So we're going to do view init. So view space init space webpack, which is the package that we're going to be using for our template for Vue. And then the name of our app, which will be VueTube. For me, it's going to be VueTube 2 or prod, since I already have YouTube. And then we're going to click through all this. Just going to hit enter, enter, enter. And then just follow the instructions on where it says to get started. It's going to go cd YouTube or whatever the name of the package that you created. And then we're going to npm install, or in my case, I'm just going to do yarn. Hmm? What, yarn?
No, one of them for the project would be present.
I think we should. It'll prevent. Yeah, we're gonna. It helps prevent. I found out we've tried it with and without. It's a little more work, but it helps avoid simple mistakes. And then once we're there, we're going to npm run dev. Cool. I just said yes to everything. So it should open up a link, and we should have a very raw version of what we have.
Still running into that error after he Vue console mode. That node 4.
He has Node 4?
Yeah.
It's really old. NVM. You guys do, you type NVM, what happens when you type NVM?
No version.
He has no NVM? So let's do brew install. Well, brew install node should install. Or brew install npm. Brew install, or
Do that.
if I brew install npm. And then we can do npm install 7. It goes in there. No. You want to install it? No, no. Npm install 7. I think it's half.
Yeah. Too long. I just added. I mean, if you can get it installed, URL for Getter. Go to the Getter channel you said before.
Uh-huh.
And
You want to
then
install Chrome too. Okay. You want to be using the product?
are you gonna get it?
Yes.
So the last thing I just did, URL,
Copy that whole. This one? Copy the whole. Chrome. Okay. You programming in your Yes. Android. Yeah, what's your editor? I again. Visual Studio. So we're on this one. So you're it's a account. Very well. Let's try this second.
Do npm space ls.
npm space ls.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not funny. Big because you open space tilde slash dot dash.
The symbol and the shift and then
Slash dot /.
I don't caught up because I messed up on my password. Because I'm like, crap.
That's it?
I was supposed to move into my projects folder and I just completely upset and skip that. And I didn't do it.
Okay, that's not a big deal.
I didn't get that.
I would just run through this whole thing just to hit enter, enter, enter. Yeah, because it's
Oh,
yeah,
you have to run that source.
so just do
that's a good yeah.
because you're probably okay. So now you need to do Control C to quit whatever operation you're in, and then
That's not going to the bin folder.
so where are you right
I'm at the very beginning of my desktop.
Yeah, terminal folder. Yeah, so go to your project directory, and then wherever you just created YouTube. So can you do LS here? See,
That's not in here.
okay. So maybe you can just create.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Oh, no, so you're fine.
It's a little tricky, especially if you're not set up. You run into this. These every meetup I think.
Okay, I'm gonna post it on Git. Or I want you to paste this into your thing.
Okay, so do you?
I guess you do mess up. I definitely messed up.
Okay, now do the view init, and then you want to do Webpack,
No,
and then the projects.
No.
You can say whatever you want. It's in the YouTube. Okay. And then yeah, go through this.
Now try. Now go in here. Maybe.
Okay. That's what you're gonna do. Now if you do CD YouTube.
Source.
Okay, cool. And then you into install.
Oh, just follow this.
Yep, just follow that. And then do npm run dev and you should get that screen.
Thank you so much.
Say that.
It's still doing its installation thing. Thank you.
Sweet. Okay. So now let's do NVM use. NPM conflict delete. NP. Not NPM use. Now do NPM default or NPM alias. One. Default. Sorry, can use okay, now do npm install dash dash. There you go. Now you don't have to worry about permissions. Don't ask me how I remember how to do all that. So let's wait for him to be done real quick. So I kind of want to keep everybody moving at the same pace, since it's, especially it's a small group, and I want to make sure everybody's learning as much as possible.
Austin Joe's password.
Oh, I don't know. I always forget. It says gamer name backwards. I always forget.
Put npm run dev before I press enter.
That command will not do it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Development server. So just type in
So those who are done, let's go ahead and open up this file in our inspector, in our whatever it's called, editor. Some lights, get the mood going. Definitely not going to finish this today. You got to leave what, in an hour?
An hour 15.
What do you got to leave so early?
I'm just gonna get tired. You know how I know.
I'm going to be tired too.
I'm not hosting it, so it's okay.
and then we called it VueTube. It's on the desktop. And then we're now
I mean, if you need help, I can help you right now. This is the time to ask for help.
I'll just. It's so not a big deal. This is now suddenly a big deal. Please, like.
Maybe so bashful.
I just don't want attention. It's really like. No.
All right, let's do this. Okay. So let's go over how things get rendered in Vue real quick. So there's a bunch of stuff here, right? We have build folder, got a bunch of stuff in there. I only want to point out one thing in here that will make sense, and then we'll avoid it for now for simplicity's sake. A config file is where we're going to contain all our like API keys. And this is something that we wouldn't commit. We'll come in here, we're going to go into pod.env, we're going to put our VueTube API key here. So let's go and see what's happening. So let's look at index.html. Super basic, right? We have an HTML tag with a head that has the title of our app, which is VueTube. And are you guys following on?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
yeah. So, could you not remember his password?
Oh, it must have timed out already.
I'll just love it. Do you have like the marketplace? Where we can see it? Right here. Yeah, search for Vue.
Okay. So we have this right here. And if we look at our app, there's a bunch of stuff in here. It's definitely not what we're seeing here being represented in our app. So even if we look at Vue page source, it's still just that. It's just bare bones. So what is actually going on here? So notice that we have this one little div right here called div id app and then div. This right here is being replaced by JavaScript with our entire application. So we end up with all of this being rendered via JavaScript. And that's the whole point of Vue, to kind of give us the whole single page app feel. So how does that happen? So we know that this div has an ID of app. And if you use jQuery, you would use something similar to this to like inject maybe like an array of results or a bunch of stuff into this div. So you have a bunch of weird stuff in here. But what we want to do is, if we look inside of our source, which has everything that we're going to be doing inside this app, everything starts with main.js. So if you open up main.js, and we're saying, okay, I want to import Vue from Vue. And if you're not familiar with ES6 syntax, ES6 uses imports instead of requires. So this is the equivalent of saying const Vue equals require Vue. Same thing. So import Vue is just syntactical sugar for writing, 2 less words. So that's what we have here. So we're importing Vue from Vue. This is the whole, runtime compiler that we're using. And then we're also importing app. An app is the very first entry point of our app using Vue files. Make this a little smaller. So we'll get into that in a second. So, and then we have a router. And the router is going to let us have the SPA field, let us flip between pages depending on what the URL route is. So, don't worry about that. I'm not sure what that is yet. Production tip. But here's where it starts. So we're going to take that Vue application that we just brought in from Node, and we're going to look for an element with an ID of app. So if you look here, oh, so it's going to check the DOM. It's going to be like, hey, find me an element with an ID of app. There it is. There's that div. Okay, and I also want to instantiate a few more things. I'm going to instantiate the router, and then when I create this, what I want to do is that when I find this app, I want to replace it with this template of just app, just like that. And then that's this app right here. So, and then we're going to bring in the component app. So basically, we're just swapping out this div with this little piece of HTML, and then we're going to stick the rest of the app in there. So that's what basically is happening here. Okay, so once we get there, let's go look at what app looks like. So if you go into app, which is right here, and into app, we have 3 sections, and this is very core of Vue. We have a template section, we have a script section, and we have a style section. So let's go over that one. So in the template section, we have our div with ID app. So we're making that. That's nothing different. It could be anything. And we're passing it an image from our assets folder. So here's our assets. We have a logo of that V, the Vue V. And then we have our router view, which is going to render all our routes. So let's go take a look at that. So there's not much else going on here. It's just basically showing us the logo and the router view. So right now, app, all it's going to show you is this. And let's go take a look. So if you go look inside of our router folder, this is where you're going to render all your routes. And then there's only one route here. So with a little bit of setup here, and then we specify Vue to use the router, we're going to say when the user hits the root route, which is, local for us, it's going to be localhost 8080. When we hit that root route, we are going to render the hello component. So where is this hello component coming from? If you look up here, it's going to be an @ symbol, and I'm going to explain that in just a second, which is source. It's the equivalent of saying src. Source components, so if you look into source components, okay, here's source, here's components, and then I want you to grab the hello Vue file, which is right here. And then that's all that stuff that we're seeing on the page. So we're saying, okay, look into our source components hello folder, and I want you to, when the user hits this route, I want you to render hello component inside of right here where this router view is. Okay, so we're going to replace anything in the router. So depending on what route we hit, so if you have like an about page or anything, for example, if we go into our router, say we want to make a new path. We say when the user hits the about page, I want you to render the about component. So that's what will happen. So let's just make it real quick. Why not? So let's go ahead and copy that first route, or / hello hello, and we're going to create a new path that when the user hits localhost 8080 / about, it should render the about component. Okay. And don't forget to also import it. We're going to go make this in a second. It's going to give us an error. So give me your stickies when you're at this point. All right, stickies down. All right, so now let's go make that about. So if you right click on hello, I'm just going to duplicate it. I don't know how you do it on Visual Studio. I don't know if you can do that. I'm going to create a new one called about. And we're just going to rip everything out of about, except for the class. So everything inside of it. Remove it all. Yeah, right click on hello and duplicate it. And then we're just going to say about x. And then feel free to delete everything in between the export defaults. I'm not using anything here. And we can go ahead and get rid of all the styles too. Let's keep it nice and simple. Cool. So if you haven't already, let's npm run dev. And if everything worked well, if we go to /about, oh, we need to change that too. Go to about, you'll see about us, or under the V. So we'll see that we have multiple routes here. So this is not very, this looks kind of ugly, right? This #/. So we'll get rid of that next. So give me stickies up if you're getting the functionality of I type about after it takes me to the About Us page. So if you're done, can you help refuse? About what's the other thing? Check the end of top. No file, component about you. Oh, go about you. So let's get rid of that nasty pound symbol. So the way we do that is really simple. We're just going to go to our router index. All right, we're going to go to main.js.
I'm sorry. I'm falling through.
Oh, Jason's failing.
You get the routes and then have you have the index here?
Hmm?
He's got the routes right.
Mhm.
But then,
Did he make the new about folder?
yeah.
Okay. And when he went in there, did he delete the contents of this?
Yeah, he's put a little like you can see it.
Hmm?
I chose a second copy. So I'm getting constant updates
Oh, okay.
right now. I'm like,
Well, appreciate it.
over time, I will be forced to. It's okay. Keeps happening. This is good anyway because I need as much memory as
Yeah. Got to speak the language. Got to live with the natives.
possible. Exactly.
Okay, so a little quick recap of what we're going to be doing is we want to get rid of that hash. Basically we want to get rid of that hash. And that's easy to do. All we got to do is just add, we go down here, we write mode history. It's going to use the HTML5 history. So now if we go to, oops, oh, it's getting left my wife.
Aw.
If we go to just localhost 8080 now, it should still work. Now if we go /about, which takes us about us. So basically we just, all we had to do to get rid of that little pound sign was to mode history. What are the console log console errors? Can you get them to install Chrome too?
What?
Chrome, because we're going to be using the Chrome Inspector
Oh.
soon. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the app that we're going to be building real quick. So if we break down this, not this one, if we break down this app into its components, right? We have this header that's always there, no matter what route we're on, which is the equivalent of having that V. It's always going to be there no matter which route we're on. So we're going to change out that V with our title. So let's count the number of things that are happening here. So we have a title, we have a search bar, we have a video player, and we have a video list. So we have 4 elements: title, search bar, video, and list. So let's go make those. So we know that we have a couple routes, that's fine. But that's just how we're going to flip through the routes if we need to. So let's start with changing hello. Okay, I personally don't like the name hello. So let's change all the hellos to main. And then we're going to rename hello in our tree to main. And then stick these up when you're done with that. And then you got to rename the component hello to main. Okay. And then when that's working, stick these up. All right, cool. Stick these down. Let's move on. Looks like we're making some progress now. Okay, so let's go to main. Let's just get rid of all this stuff. We don't need any of this garbage. So we're going to keep just the class hello, and we'll keep the name hello, and we're going to get rid of all these styles. Okay. Cool. So let's bring some stuff in. So we got to create a few more components. So let's start writing them out. We're going to create a component called, let's do the title first. So if we go look at our app, and we go to the root route, we should get nothing once I save this. So it'll be nothing, except for that V. So let's go replace that V inside of app.vue. We're going to replace it. And we're going to replace it with an H1 that says VueTube. And that would be like the equivalent of our header if we would do like a login or something. We could put a header component here. But for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to put an H1 on top of our routes. We do that, we have VueTube. Right now, we're starting to catch up to our previous app example that we have. Okay. Okay. Let me get rid of this. VueTube. So we're going to be styling here pretty soon. So let's go to Bootstrap real quick. So we're going to get bootstrap.com. And we're going to go up to getting started. And then right here where it says Bootstrap CDN, we're just going to copy that first link. We could import it using npm and then loading into our SAS loader, but that's going to be a little more time that we want to spend. I'm kind of trying to speed this up a little bit. So we're going to copy this Bootstrap CDN. We're going to go over to our index.html, and then right under this comment, I'm going to paste it right there. So let me know when you guys are there. I'm not going to be able to do a lot of styling until that link is there. So get bootstrap.com, getting started, copy that first link. Yep. Maybe you have been checking your work. You have a comma dangle, so read it. So the first one is in router. Hello is defined but never used, so that means you haven't put it in yet. So let's go to, we don't want to use hello. So go to index.js. Okay, delete hello and replace it with main. Right. Next one is a comma dangle on what file? What line? Main. It's on main.view. Okay, and then you have hello, comma. Delete that comma dangle. Save it. There you go. Okay. Cool. So if we keep a convention, if we have a / about, it should show the about us. Just a minute. Cool. So let's create those components. So if you go into main.js, I'm going to change this to main. We're going to create a few components in here. So let's just write them out first. We know that we're going to need a search bar. So we'll write search bar. We know that we'll also need a video player. And we'll probably also need a results list. But if you just put it all in like that, it's just going to get all smushed up and look terrible. So we're going to do some little bootstrapping here. Let me open up my file so I don't mess this up. Okay, so we know that if we look at our example here, we have a few rows. We have the search row, and then we have the everything else row. And we have this like about 3/4 of the way filling up the screen, and then we have this 1/4 of the way filling up the screen. So if we set this up in the 12-line grid, like Bootstrap does, we're going to make this all 12 grid width. We'll probably make this an 8 grid width, and then the remainder 4 grid width for our list. So let's do that real quick. So we're going to create 2 rows. First row is going to contain our search bar, and the second row is going to contain both our video element and our result list. So let's do that. So let's wrap search bar with a div row, and then we want to make this, so you have to have columns within rows. So we're going to wrap this search bar with a div col small 12. So we have our first row right here. is going to have one column of a width of 12 grid points, and we're going to throw a search bar in there. Then for our video player and result list, we're going to wrap that with a row. And then each one of these is going to be wrapped with a column. So we're going to do div, column, sm, and the first one, the video player, is going to be a column width of 8. And our result list is going to be a column width of 4. There we go. And when you're done, stick these down. And Umberto, pretty fast. So everybody familiar with Bootstrap a little bit, at least? Okay.
What's the point of doing name
The name property and export?
like name?
Oh, good. Yeah, so you want to know what this name main is? So when we go into our inspector, and we look at, we're going to get the view inspector soon. It's on production, so I can't see here. But if we go into our development environment, open up view, have some errors. Oh yeah, because we haven't done some type. So that's where it comes right here. So we know that we're inside of app and we have a component named main. And that's what the name is right there.
But you need to have that name copy.
It helps. Otherwise it uses the file name. And you don't have to have it. It just makes it nice to debug. Okay, so we're asking for search bar, video player, and result list, but we haven't defined it anywhere. So what we're going to do now is we're going to import those, and then we're going to make it. So we're going to import search bar from @/components/search bar. And we're going to do the other ones too. So search bar, video player, and results list. So it's a 3-step process here. So we have it in the template, then we have to import it into our script, and then we have to define that this component is going to be using these components. So we're going to go after name, we're going to write components, and we're going to pass in these 3 things. So it's going to be 3 places. You're going to have it in your HTML, you're going to have it imported into your scripts, and then you're going to define it inside of your export. So inside of components. And then stick these up when you're done with that.
So taking like shorthand to not do that like the encoding pattern if you don't need to do inside of it.
Yeah, yeah. Only if you have like a scope, or not a scope, but a slot. Then that's the only time you would open it up. Otherwise, it's okay. We just do a self-closing tag. That's a good point. Oh yeah, yeah. So if we look inside of our build folder, and we look at inside of webpackbase.conf, all it is an alias. So if you look into resolve aliases, @ symbol, it says resolving to source. So it lets us go into our app from anywhere without having to do the .. and that could be really annoying. So Webpack base inside of build. Oh, I'm sorry. I was using the wrong screen. So if you look inside of builds, and you open up webpackbase.conf, you'll notice that inside the resolve, we have an alias section that's going to resolve the @ symbol to the root source. And that helps you from not having to do this dot dot slash stuff all the time. Sometimes you want to grab something and you want to have a nice reference point, and that's why the Vue developer decided to use @ symbol. It's a good place to have a nice starting place for everything without having to do backtrack, basically. Okay, so now we have those imported in. It should compile successfully, and it shouldn't throw any errors. So if I refresh this, it's throwing errors. Did I save it? Oh yeah, we need to make this components. So let's make it. So inside our components, let's duplicate something simple like about, and let's create all those files. So I'm going to duplicate, I'm going to create search bar. And I'm going to duplicate search bar and make video player. And then duplicate video player and make results list. If we do that, hopefully that will give us a whole bunch of about us's. I think I'm missing one. Results list, search bar, video player. Search bar, video player, results list. Oh, kept that. There we go. So we should see 3 little about us's floating around.
The very last thing you did?
So I created the 3 files, right? So I made result list, search bar, and video player. And then that was it.
I was getting that same error you were getting. I didn't know you fixed one thing.
Said no multiple empty lines.
First off, is this Atom or
Oh, you might need to, yeah,
install
Command Shift P. Command. So if you're using Atom and you don't have the highlighter, do Command Shift P, install, and then go down to package, and then type Vue language. Or language view. That's the one right there.
Do you have the components property?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, right there.
Language view. It was language dash view.
Yeah, language dashboard.
No, that'll be pretty.
Oh, thank you.
It might help your linter too.
Right.
Okay, so find out, so read the error. What does the error say?
It says a link.
And it says no multiple empty lines, right?
Yeah.
So what file and what line? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Thank you.
No, nobody called me back. But I'm in the middle of something. I'll call back tomorrow. Bye-bye. Okay, so did you fix your thing? So you good to go? All right. You're missing one.
One about. I'm missing one of them.
Everybody else is good though? Are you good? Okay. When you duplicate it, do you duplicate it correctly?
Oh yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, let's open up the browser. Open up the inspector. console errors. Yeah, run console errors. And then customer, so you have result lists. So there's some misspelling. No, not even. It's in main. So double click result list. Make sure name twice or 4 times. So messed up.
Is that the one?
So you get result list here. No, it has to be capital L.
Okay, so all of them. Everywhere.
There you go.
And then change that one to and then
Oh,
all
yeah.
your import as well.
No, the import is fine.
No, we want to rechange it because it's not conventional.
Oh, right.
Benefits. So rename that. Change list to uppercase L. And then go into your name and substitute one. And then go to change the rest of it. C3. Yes. Why is your thing so huge?
Because I like to look at it.
So did you install Bootstrap?
I thought it was
No. With a Bootstrap. You have it on the web. Did you copy that? Did you paste it into the installation?
Yeah.
Save it. And check your process, make sure that's correct.
what?
Check your process, make sure that's correct. Colon, and then call SN. Introductory rows.
For this one.
So that's inside, that's outside of the row. So you want to put this inside of that row. So copy lines 13 to 15. And then
inside
command control.
these three. Just the name.
Save it.
I've actually did some.
Yeah.
This should be in it depends. This side.
Well,
That's it.
no.
You have to troubleshoot the
I don't know.
You count this?
Yeah, it was 12.
Okay.
This is not letting us,
You put 3 rows. You want second one to have
I'll separate the rows.
Okay.
Oh, where's the row? You got a row here and a column, a row,
I was
column.
thinking about that too, but if you look at history, then there's some, has 2 rows.
That's right. And they're on the same one. Make this.
I do. I think
Save it. And this. Something that you very good with. And you have double quotes here.
Oh, that's down. So that one's in there. Okay. Oh, they should be all spread out.
Yeah, they should be. I could just copy and paste that again. I mean, it's fast.
Oh, that's why. It's in your body, not in your head.
Magic.
Move it up like line 4.
I think you said to put it underneath the comment.
I put it on.
You put it
This is the first one. Melody.
It was in the wrong place. I
Oh,
put it underneath the comment in the body and not in the head. And that's why.
I mean, that you can do that too.
Oh, but for some reason, no one likes
Do you like that?
that. I don't know, but.
Oh, you put it below the body or inside the body?
I put it exactly where you put it.
Oh.
Like exactly where you put it. But all I did is have to move it to the head.
Okay. It works too because I think it's deferred. No, it's not. Oh, you know what? You're right. This is where you put styles or scripts.
For some reason, it's working for what?
Maybe it's not. I haven't checked it yet.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, I guess it was working anyways. That's weird, but it was working.
That's
Okay. So who's ready? Everybody ready? Okay, so let's move on.
No, that's
So stickies down. So we have, so let's just go ahead and start with our search bar. So what do we have to do here? We basically have to pop in a search bar. And I'm too lazy to make a nice one, so let's go grab one from Bootstrap. So we're going to Bootstrap, we're going to go to CSS. We're going to go down to Forms. And let's just grab one of these form groups. Once we grab that, we're going to go back to our code. I'm just going to plop it in there. I'm going to change this about to search.
it's just a cache issue.
Oh, okay. And also delete this label because we don't want that label. And we'll get rid of that ID. And change the placeholder to search info. And change the type of text. Once we have that, you should be able to see a nice big search field. Yes, like that, maybe a little too big. And the reason for that is we didn't do container. So let's go to our main and then change that main to container. This container is fine. So change that main to container, and it should look better. There we go. So then we have a search anything bar. You can type anything into it, and if you hit enter, nothing should happen. So that's what we want. So make sure you don't wrap this inside of a form. It's the old school way. Okay, so we have a div container in our main. And if we go over to our search bar, there we go. So make sure this looks pretty close to that. So let's talk a little bit about two-way binding. Okay. So we're going to add something to this. Or let's wait till everybody's caught up first. So stickies up whenever you're done. Go and take a seat. You might need to sit with. Can you, Jason, can you move to that green seat? Can you move to the blue seat so Jason can help you get cut up? Felipe, are you familiar with Vue at all?
UL?
Vue?
Oh, somewhat. Yeah.
Someone? Okay. So hopefully you'll be able to catch up. We're not super far ahead.
Which password's a good one to
Hmm?
put? Which password's the safe one?
Oh, the brown one.
What's your
Hmm?
That's
18 means you can stay up.
No.
Okay. What was your name again?
Sam.
Sam. And Humberto. Travis. You had it. And then P-Line. Alright. Cool. So we have our form, right? Everybody has their form? Okay, so let's just print out exactly what we're typing in here. So as we type, I want it to show up down here. So that's going to be really easy. All we're going to do is we're going to put things in two places. First, we're going to do a V model here, which is going to set up a binding to our data inside of our script. So we'll call this query, if that makes sense. So we'll say V model query, and then we're going to go ahead and define it inside of our export default. So we're going to go in here, we're going to write, I guess, name. So we forgot the name first, so we do search bar. And then we're going to add a data attribute here. So data is what's going to let us do a two-way binding. So we'll say data, and that data function is going to return an object, which is going to contain all our data for this component. So we're going to say query, and we're going to initialize it as an empty string. So now we bound this input with this piece of data inside of this component. So if we want to render it, we can use double curlies, and we'll just type, let's type query here. And then before it, we'll say view search query. So let's talk about this a little bit. This query variable is referring to our database, or not database, but our state. So this component, this search component, has a piece of data with a key of query, and this query is available inside of our template. So we're updating it via vModel inside of our input, and then we can immediately print it right away onto our template using double curlies. So that's how we're interpolating. So if we type inside of here, we should be able to see things popping up right away. As soon as you type, things should start popping up underneath.
So you need to specify the query, return that query, return in data in order for
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's how it sets up the binding relationship. So if we do ternary, we can say if there's query, then we're going to print out the query. However, if query is empty, like an empty string, we can say nothing. So you search, so we're checking to make sure that query is not falsy, or it's truthy, or has something inside of it. If it does, we're going to print what we wrote. Otherwise, if it's empty, we're just going to print out nothing. So you see, you search nothing, and as soon as you start typing, you'll replace it. As soon as you get rid of it, it goes back to nothing.
and initialize the variable as nothing, and then the model is updating.
Yep, so it's just empty a string of it. So it's how we initialize it. It's an empty string, and then vModel is going to update it for us, right, as we type. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure that as we type into here, we're sending a request. And we want to send that request off to Google, or yeah, to Google API to fetch the correct data for us. So without getting into V or Vuex right away, we're going to do it locally inside of search, and then we're going to abstract it out into Vuex. And if you're not familiar with Vuex, Vuex is a app-wide store, so we can access variables throughout the whole app. It doesn't matter, you don't have to pass any data to different components from components. You can just access it from the global store. So it makes it really helpful for fetching and retrieving data. But the setup can be a little bit intimidating. So let's do it. Let's stop our servers, and let's go ahead and install a new package called Axios. So we're going to do yarn add or npm install Axios. If you use yarn add, it will save it for you. If you don't have yarn, you can do yarn or npm install -g yarn.
Yarn install access.
Yep, yarn add Axios. You do Control C. There you go. Now do yarn add Axios. MacBook has a CD drive? Jeez.
Pretty much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mine's old too.
11.
Yeah, that's how mine is. Mine was like app, a Mac I found on OfferUp for really cheap, and then it's cheap.
Well, you need a Mac if you want to get a job,
Exactly.
for sure.
I've heard.
So when you have Axios installed, stick these up. How are you doing, Sam?
Small.
I don't think there's the telephone stuff. I don't know if we got the CL or CD.
If it might be down in the body, because
I just got it.
is it up in the head?
Yeah, it's spread it correctly.
Beeline, go ahead.
Help me errors.
That's how you learn.
So classes should always be lowercase and initials. But that worked about this. Make sure you're good at instead of
Yeah.
oh, you know it's like okay, you're finding something. Search for the model query. You find the now you want to put other queries. Option 4. Text space. Double query process. Back. Good. So that's how you inject JavaScript. As a type, it should come in.
So put your red sticky up. All right. The finished project is on my repo, so you can download that if you need to. Okay, let's do some fetching. So let's create a new data object. We'll call it return results, and we're going to instantiate it as an empty array. Okay, and then right after data, we're going to create a new method. So as we type into this input form, we want to do a search. So we're going to type @ symbol, which means on. So when we do something, it's going to be an event handler. So on key up, if you want to make sure that we finish typing what we were typing. On key up, we're going to run the function search. And we're going to pass it in the query that we're bound to. So as we type, we want to run the search function. And we're going to pass it the query. So let's just see what that looks like real quick. So right after data, we're going to create a new key here called methods. And inside of methods, we're going to define a new function called search, the one that we're calling up here. Search is going to take a query parameter, query argument, and let's just console log it for now. Make sure that it works. Console.log, and then we're going to log the query. Cool. So if we look inside of our editor, oh, we need to start this back up. So make sure, don't forget to rerun your server, your dev server. So if you look inside of our console, as we type in here, every time we press up, so if I'm pressing down right now and I let go, it should run that function. So you'll see right there. So you should start seeing some things popping up on the console. So when you get that, sticky's up. And meanwhile, sticky's down.
Search bar.
Okay, so. Sure. It's on GitHub/Artokun, ARTOKUN. And it's called VueTube. I'll put on Getter. So is everybody done? So are you console logging whilst you type?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Damn, Pilan, you're getting better. Keeping up.
Barely above water.
It's making sense though?
I'm more like this absorbing.
I'll take that.
I'll take it too.
Okay, so let's actually take that query and let's do something with it. So let's do Axios. Go to Axios.get. We're going to pass it in as a first argument. It's going to be the URL. So if you go to Getter, it's sitting right there. So it's this one here. Google APIs, YouTube, V3 search. But go ahead and copy all that stuff. Because we're going to need the key and the part also. So grab all that. I'm going to stick it in here somewhere. So first, we're going to pass that URL into the get. Then we're going to create a data object. We're going to open up an object. Actually, we'll pass in options. So we're going to create a new thing. So we'll call it const options equals an empty array. And we're going to pass these three things into it. And the queue is going to be this dot query. So we're creating an options object that gets passed in as a second argument inside of Axios. So the first one is the URL that we're going to be hitting, and then the second argument is the options. We're going to be passing in my key, and then a few other things that is required for searching. So we have the snippet, and then we're going to pass in the queue, which is going to be the query that we're typing in. Actually, we're passing it down in here, so we might as well just do this like query. We just pass whatever we searched. So query. Yeah, it's right here.
You don't need this factory?
No, because we're passing it in right here.
Oh. Right.
So in fact, what you could do, we can get rid of this query up here. We don't need it. We can just do search. So if we do a key up, just do search. We're not passing anything here. And we can do this back here. Yeah. So it's actually better to do it this way. Let's do it this way instead. Oh, we're going to have to change it later for UX. So we'll make that refactor when we need to. But for now, we don't need to change anything.
Did you import access?
Access not defined.
Oh, we need to import Axios. Yes. Import Axios from Axios. From. Okay. And then after we do that search, we're going to chain on a dot then. So if it's successful, we're going to get a response back. When we get that response, we're going to do a fat arrow function, and we're going to, this is console, let's just pass it into results. So we'll say this dot results equals response dot data dot this, or items. And then for good measure, we'll just do dot catch. Have an error. And then we're going to do alert. And then we'll pass in the error.message. So normally we don't want to do requests inside of a components. This should be something that should be handled by the actions in Vuex. So we'll break this out. We just want to see it work before we start breaking things out into Vuex. Because Vuex setup is going to take a little while, but we got time, so we'll do that.
Could you import Axios at like the highest level we have played in the app and be able to use it here, or would you still need to import it?
You'd have to import it into the components themselves. The only time you could do that is if you bring it as in a CDN in the HTML. Otherwise, because of Webpack chunking, you're going to have to import everything at the level that you need it. But the good thing is that once you import it once, importing it in different places is not going to affect performance at all. So if everybody's good on cat up, then we can stickies up. the final result we want is that we're going to be getting a huge JSON object as we search. Refresh this. We're getting a 400. I mean, oh, my bad. So we need to pass as parameters, sorry. So the options needs to actually be params. And then these are the parameters that you're passing in. So that's what it should look like. So the options should contain a params object that contains the key, part, and key. You're going to miss all the Vuex stuff, You're going to miss all the Vuex stuff.
Falsely or I do really. But no, it's
It's still going to take the bus.
you do?
Yeah. I live close.
Yeah, so I don't feel that bad for you actually.
So we cut up, Sam? Is everybody getting a big chunk of JSON on their screens when you search? Right. Are you getting it? Oh, yes. And then after we get the results, we want to show them. So if we go after the BR, oops. So let's do a break here. So we do a little break here, and then we can just do results. And if we do that as we type, we'll see raw JSON coming in. So with our cats, you'll see all the cat JSON stuff. So everybody getting that at least? Results. So go back and say, copy method results is not defined on the instance. Okay, so you have to create data and you take the results essentially. You do that. We're doing the this style results. Oh no, your results. Your results. Your results.
Typos.
Semicolon, semicolon.
Can you stand behind me and I could just hear your voice like I'm
Yeah.
it's just like the same thing.
So query, that's good. So we have search bar, query, results. Good. We're doing results. Yes. That's good. We go down. Okay, an options array with key, part, key, passing the and list that results with response to other elements. Save it. Okay. See what's going on. Type something. Yeah, bracket is not. So it's not updated. Are you doing get? Is it fetching? Let's go to your data. Your network tab. Or make this a regular data. Either one, either
It's too
all or
small.
nothing. So I go to network. So you're go to XHR. Go down. So you are searching. Maybe it's not getting the data back. Let's go back. So you're saying this set results. Data back in response. Data.
Oh yeah.
Results is not double click results.
This one?
And then close the code and the country. So that's closed and then dot path. You have to do that.
Do console line pieces like that.
Which before which one? This one?
Yeah.
But we can have some
Yeah.
types and stuff. You can empty and use many queries and kind of double click query. I don't know if it's you are when you type it, it's populating.
Yeah.
So go back and go look at your there it is. So it's a search. Not passing anything. Yeah, search, open up the passing search, and then passing query.
Good. You have the results to the top. So you can look at this one. Oh, okay. Is there a way to specify like which pattern spaces you want?
You have to use other config. Do a right click on that page and see if you can do a data frame. Right click on the page. Okay, you can you know how to do it?
I actually turned off my very often also for like setting tabs explicitly.
Most times,
Okay. My coworker uses that.
I feel like this is the first time you've done anything. What is it? Maybe first time you've So this actually tiny frames and family. Search bar. Hands off access. So you can equal access. And then you install it. Control C, and do run, or you can install that new
And when it's done, we run add access. On the start. Okay. And then we run add access. Okay. And that's when touches data from the server. Okay, now do that thing on the so we can save it as results. So I think this type search. And it's got to pass it into results. And so this is results into the temporary items. Now he's putting
Okay, ready? Stickies down. All right. So ideally, now we need to pass data over to our results list because we want to render that huge HTML or JS into nice little blocks like, where is it at? I've lost it. Like this one. I'm going to create this list using the JSON that we just got back. But how do we pass that data from inside of here into here? How do we pass that data over? Well, we don't have access to that because we don't have any way to pass data from one component to another if it's not a parent-child relationship. So these are all siblings to each other. So what we need to do is we need to pass the data up to this global store and then fetch it from anywhere. We'll do actions and getters and mutators and all that. So this part's going to be a little crazy. It gets, when a Vuex does get a little complicated. So we're just taking it one step at a time. So we're able to fetch the data, so we know that our keys and all that stuff works. So now let's teleport this information into this global store. We're going to bring in Vuex. So let's go into our console. We're going to do yarn add Vuex, which is very similar to Redux, if you're familiar with the Redux methodology, particularly for React. I'm going to do yarn add Vuex, and then we're going to go ahead and start the server back up. Okay. So let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. So we're going to go ahead and delete that results return. So we shouldn't see anything come up anymore. And we're going to have to create some folders now. So we're going to just collapse some of this stuff so it doesn't get too nasty. I didn't do anything yet. So we're not going to look at components. Let's just look at everything nice and fresh. We're going to go look inside of source. Notice that we have an assets folder, a components folder, a router folder, and now we're going to add a store folder. Inside our store folder, we're going to add a new file called index.js. Okay, and we're going to type some stuff in here. So we're going to type it first, and then we're going to talk about it, because it's going to get a little crazy now. But once it's set up once, you don't really have to worry about it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to import Vue from Vue. Then we're going to import Vuex from Vuex. Okay. And then we're going to do view.use Vuex. So that's the whole point. We have to import these two just so that we can tell Vue, hey, Vue, use Vuex. We're going to add one line. We're going to do const or export defaults new ux.store. And we're going to instantiate it with an option too. So our options are going to be modules, and then the second one's going to be strict. It's going to be false. So we want this to be kind of dynamic too. So we're just going to create a new thing. We're going to do const debug equals process.env node env. We're going to make sure that our node environment is not production. When it's not in production, we're going to let it do debug. We'll press that. So we just want to make sure that we're not debugging in production because it's going to slow down our code significantly. So whenever we're in dev mode, so otherwise either in test or development, we want to disable strict mode. Okay. So let's work on our first module. So the first module we're going to work on is our search module. And we type search in here, and we're going to store all search related data here. So anything that we want to save on search or fetch or anything like that, any type of store actions, we're going to pass into search. We're going to have another one for player later, but we'll add that when that comes. So we're going to add one more import. We're going to import search from, we're going to do /modules/search. And then when you're ready, I'm going to create a new folder inside of store. I'm going to call it modules. And inside of modules, I'm going to create a new file called search. .js. Let's go back to our index here. So let me know when everybody's caught up here. And all the folders are made. So we need a modules folder with search.js inside of it. Sam, are you caught up?
Not yet.
And Raul, is it Raul? No, what is your name? Felipe, sorry. Phil? Okay. I like Phil better. And then you got Humberto. Humberto? Humberto. And Travis. I was going to say it.
It was a long pause.
I don't know, I was going to say.
You're so mean, P-Lam.
That wasn't a thing, that's actually my name. It's melody. Like music. Much prettier, actually, than P-Lam.
When she introduced herself to me, she was like, my name is Melody P-Lam.
I didn't say that.
His bike is here, so I hope he's going to leave. He's walking wherever he's going. Okay. So now let's do the second part of the complicated mess that we're working on inside of search.js. So nothing will work until we get all this set up. And we have quite a few places that we can set this up. So we have our store. So let's go ahead and get it instantiated inside of main.js. So main.js, we're just going to import the store. So we're going to say import store from /store. And then right after the router, we're going to write store. It's like that. At least that part's not too bad. Okay, good. Now let's work inside of our modules. And let's go grab that search and start filling this out. So let's talk about what is going to be in here. So first we're going to have our initial state. How we want the app to start up when we first hit the route, how everything is fresh. Then we're going to have getters. How our components are going to be able to fetch the data from our state at any time. How do we call it? Then we're going to have mutation types. Which won't make sense if you don't know anything about them. But we'll talk about it. And we're going to have actions. So this is stuff like fetching data. How are we going to fetch the data when certain things happen, like we're opening a modal or we're sliding out a side menu, things like that, things that are actionable. Like we want something to happen. We want to create, we want to do something to modify the state. But we don't actually modify state from actions. We modify it from, the last thing here is mutators, mutations. So we're going to fill all these things in. And then we're going to export it all. So here's where it starts getting a little hairy. So let's just type it and then we'll kind of talk about it as we go. So first thing in our state, it's going to be really simple. We already know what it is. Our initial state, it's going to be an object, and it's just going to have one key in it, results. And it's going to be an empty array. And so everything we do inside of this module is going to be to modify the state. Our actions, getters, mutators are all going to mess with the state. The getters is just going to fetch it. So that's how we grab it into our components. And we'll see an example of that soon. So we have results, so let's just get it. So if we do const getters, it's also an object. We're going to say results. So if I do like a getter for results, I expect to grab the state and return that result. So we need to make this actually a function. So our getter, we have a results getter, which is basically whenever we call this results getter function, it's going to grab the results array from our state and it's going to give it back to us. So if you're not familiar with this syntax, it's equivalent to results return state return state dot results. Okay, those two are equivalent systems. It's just different, just a little bit different syntax. It's more on shorthand, but that's basically what we're getting here. Okay, so that's what our getter is doing. So when we call the results function from our getter, it's going to return the state, so we can get it from anywhere. But we have no way to modify this yet, so we're going to do that through actions. So first, let's just define some mutation types. I'm going to say const search success equals the string search success. It's going to be exactly the same. this is a pattern that you'll see very common with Flux and Redux and Vuex. The second one we're going to do fail. And normally there's going to be another one for requests, but we're going to try to keep it simple. So we'll have mutation types or search success. This is exactly what it looks like. This variable is the string version of the name of the variable. And the reason we do that is so that it prevents typos and it helps with like IDEs easily autocomplete when you're doing when you're creating new mutation types and stuff, or actions or whatever. All right, so here's the crazy part. Well, the second crazy part. So here's where it starts getting complicated. So first, we're going to do the same thing we've done before. For getters in state, we're going to say const actions equals an object. And here's what we call our search function. So we already created something like this inside of our search bar. We said that when we do a key up, we're going to type search. We're going to run the search function, which is then going to create this object, and it's going to send the request, and when it's done, it's going to populate our results. So we're going to move a lot of this functionality out into this action. So it's going to look a little weird. So this search first argument is going to be a destructured like a state, but we're just going to do commit in here and then state. I think it's called dispatch. So dispatch has a commit and a state inside of it. So we're just destructuring that out for simplicity's sake. Then we also are going to be getting a query back. So this is the payload. Whatever whenever we're inside of the component, when we call search, when we pass something into it. So for example, when we do at key up equals this thing, and then we do search, and we pass into it the query. That query is going to be passed into here. It's going to be passed into the second argument. So the first argument is always going to be the dispatch, and the second argument is going to be the query that we pass in, or whatever we pass in when we do the key up or we call an action.
Dispatch is the object.
Yeah, so it's the same. Instead of having to type dispatch.commit or dispatch.state, we're just destructuring it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open that up. And here's where we can do our Axios. So if you go to the top, you're going to import that in. Import Axios from Axios. You know, I apologize if this is a little advanced, but it's important knowledge. There's a lot of errors. Oh yeah, I'm not using it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to create our objects, so const objects, or sorry, options equals this thing. We're going to create a params object, and we're going to pass in the three things that we need. So that's key, and then we'll pop in the key in there. So I'm just going to say API underscore key parts. It's going to be snippet. And Q is going to be the query that we passed in. So let's say query. Okay. So after the options, we're going to do Axios dot get. We're going to pass in our, I'm just going to call it YT underscore URL. And then we're going to pass our options. You go dot then, and you get a result back. Put some space in there so we can make this up. So we're going to do our results. Got our function. And we're going to commit. So we're going to grab this argument here that we have. We're going to say commit. And we're going to pass that mutation type that we just said. So if it comes back successfully, we're going to commit search success. And that's going to pass it down a pipeline where our mutations can pick it up from anywhere. So we do search success. And notice how autocomplete works. That's one of the reasons why we have mutation types. Simply for convenience. And then the second one's going to be our payload. So the payload is going to be whatever we get back. So results dot data. And that's it. That's all we put in there. So we also do our catch, and that's where we're going to pass our fail. So we do dot catch, and then we're going to get an error back. And that's just going to be commit search fail, and we pass in the error. That's it. So that's what we got. So what's happening here? So let's actually let's get API key and VueTube URL in as well. We'll import those in. So we'll say const VueTube URL is equal to that string. And then we have const API key is equal to the key here. So we're not done yet, but let me know when you guys are caught up on this. The cool thing is once you have the Vuex set up once, it's really easy to copy paste and kind of adjust things as you need to. But it's that initial setup that's kind of tedious. But it's just has a high cost of entry, and then it gets really easy after that.
You said the barrel.
Mm-hmm. You can go grab those from search bar. And then once this is set up, it's really easy to finish the app after that. No problem. But thanks for all your help. Let me know if you want to host one somewhere else or.
Yeah, since sometimes like when I'm in a room, I can talk to my work about it.
Cool.
Although, well,
And you can host it too, if you feel confident.
maybe. I'm still iffy on the UI, so I kind of stopped looking at it.
Oh yeah.
And we can also talk to the origin cloud as well. That goes to my project.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get more room
Yeah, you can do loops. You can probably do loops or something. Various loops or interview questions.
Well, I mean, not only that, but like the just the venue.
Oh.
On this particular night, you do it there.
Mm.
With the attendance and stuff.
Mm.
You need more space. I can talk to them.
Now it's your attendance going up. So adoption rate of 3%. It's still pretty low.
Get in touch with the SDJS people.
State is assigned a value but never used. Oh yeah, so we're not done yet. We're going to get errors.
People from the React meetup were there, and every now and then, like someone from the Ember group who is associated showed up and talked a little bit, but even I haven't managed to get like a 5-minute lightning talk on it. I was going to do it on their little built-in animation system, but I just haven't gotten around to writing it. But you don't even have to do a talk. You can just be like, hey, well, I mean, while we're talking about organizers, there's no thing there's no like hardship with being able to like get up and then we get be a part of the group to say like, hey, there's like this meetup I have on the third Thursday or whatever this is. For the month, we do all Vue all the time. We talk about staking and Vue.
Cool.
You definitely pick up some more interest there.
Yep, that'll help. For now, how did you find about Vue? Mhm. Oh, okay. Cool.
You guys use it at work?
No, we're using it
Cool. Well, let's try to finish this. Once the Vuex is set up, everything else just falls into place. It's really fast. We'll finish that real quick once we get past all this stuff. So cool. So what's happening here? So as soon as we call the search func action that we're going to import into our app, I'll show you how to do that. We're going to take that query, we're going to create an object, we're going to go fetch it from Axios, and then we're going to commit a search success along with the data. So this allows it to happen asynchronously. So let's go ahead and do the last thing, which is our mutations. So we've got mutations. The mutations. The mutations is going to be same thing as before. We're going to do const mutations equals an object. And let's just we'll do it along. We're going to say on search when we because the mutation is always listening, right? So whenever it hears that a search success has been committed by one of the actions, it's going to do something to mutate the state. So we're going to get state back, and we're going to get our result.data, which we just want, from result data, we just want the item out of it. So we'll just say items. And then we're going to say state dot results equals items. Basically, so here's where it actually comes back full circle. So whenever we hear that the search success has been committed by one of these actions, we're going to go in and we're going to update the state, our global state. So we're going to say state.results is now going to be equal to the items that we got back from this asynchronous action of search. Does that make sense? Okay.
Can you explain the square brackets and the capital C success? Because that's like a function name, right?
So we're just listening for a. So yes. So we're committing the search success. You know what? Let's look at the Vuex steps, because that's a good question. So if we look at mutations, yes. So we have a function name of increment, or whatever it's called. But when you use it along with mutation types, some mutation is what we're doing. And then you import it in, and then you use it in this format right here. So the name of the function that you're calling is the same as the type. So yes, it is a function. You're absolutely correct. It would just look just like that otherwise. So we're looking for a function with the name search success. And then we're going to, once we get that, we're going to go ahead and dispatch everything. So what happens on the inverse? Well, we have a search fail. So we'll do search fail. We search fail, we get the same thing, state. And notice here that when we commit search fail, we're passing an error object, so we'll go ahead and grab that error object. And then we'll just do an alert, just like we had before, an error.message. And that is it for search. The one for a player is going to be a lot easier, very, very tiny. Okay. Oh yeah, let me do one more thing before we do that. So lastly, once we have all these cons, we have a const mutation, const actions, const getters, const state. We need to get that all exported. And the way we do that, we do export default object. Then we're going to do namespace true. That's the only thing that's out of the blue. And I'll explain that in a little bit. But then we're going to pass state, getters, actions, and mutations. Export all of it. And that should get rid of a lot of your errors if you're getting some before. Okay. Cool. So if you're not familiar with this shorthand, let me explain what it looks like longhand. It's the same as saying this. So that's why it's when you're using ES6, when the key and the value are the same spelling, then you can just bring it down to this one thing. So it's just ES6. Cool. All right. So now how do we use this? So we have all this stuff. I'm like, okay, now what? Well, the way we use it now, let's go back to our search bar. And we're going to change some things in here. First of all, we'll just get rid of this method, search, because now it's available inside of our data, or inside of our data store. We're also going to get rid of results here because we don't really need to show results as part of our query. We need that to be shown inside of our results list. So this is all we need to see right here for now. So we're going to add one more key here. Oh yeah, we don't need access here. We're going to add one more key here. We're going to say computed. And this is where our getters are going to come in from. Okay, so we need to import one more thing here. So if you go to search bar, actually we don't need to do getters here because we're not getting anything here. It's for our results. So all you do is do a method. So it's really simple to import state stuff now. Here's where it starts getting easier. So we're going to import map actions from UX. And inside of our methods, we're going to go and grab that action. And it's going to be search. So we can still keep it like this right here. But we do need to, if you haven't put query in here, you need to put that back in. Because we need to pass that query into search. Okay, so here it is. Dot, 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 map actions. We specified the module that we're working in. So module search. That's the first argument. And the second one is an array of the actions that you want to bring in. In our case, it's just search. And that's it. So by doing this, we now have mapped the actions from our search module, and we grab the search function inside of our search module. So our search action. We save that, and now that should update our state. Now we want to show it. So let's go into our results list. And right now we're just gonna dump it in here. So we're gonna say results. Publish results. I'm gonna do some setup here where the name is results list. We're gonna import map getters from UX. We don't do that. So we're going to do computed here. It's going to be very simple. You guys probably already know what it is. It's going to be dot, 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 map getters. We're going to look into our search module. And we're going to grab the results getter. Just like that. Cool.
So this allows us to use these variables in the HTML.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's yeah. So we can grab the data. So the
That's
same
the
as
point.
doing the data.
Right?
So data and computed are going to return something.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's see if it worked. Refresh this. Or cannot read property. Another important map. Getters from UX. Memory property module namespace map undefined. Results list.e.
Just message me and we can talk about cross promotion stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Have a good one.
Yeah.
If anybody else is working, you working? You getting the JSON on the right? Perfect. Maybe you can help me what I'm doing wrong. Did I do namespace wrong? Namespace true. Cannot read property. I don't even know what that is. Namespace map, undefined. What else? Berto, you got yours working? Are you showcasing results? Map getters from Vuex.
The one thing that I don't have that good was the map export object.
This?
Yeah.
Not doing anything. Oh, I think this has a problem with this namespace. Search. Export default. What the heck did I do? As soon as I fix me, I can help fix you.
Can you do the index.js within tool?
Yeah. Namespace state, getters, actions, mutations. Mhm.
The results are probably not being done properly.
Well, I'll try to help you guys, and then I'll help myself.
Let's see if computers don't have exactly what you have.
You did have a lot of stuff. So after 9:20 or after 9:30, you can cancel log before the results. It's working. For some reason,
You
won't
have,
find it. So it's supposed to be an alert.
you have the view invade to the show it in
So change the alert to maybe there's no error message. Oh, you did search success twice.
Okay.
So it was working. It's just like stopping. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So give her that console. I think everything else is working, not mine.
So it looks like sleep
So try this not happening. Computer map together. Search. Go into search mode. So look at the state. I'm looking.
I figured out the answer is like
Let's go to the console log.
oh,
Yeah. Make sure that I didn't make that mistake too. Trying to see if you guys had something that I did.
Yeah, I had like one S. Like same with you. I just delete it. Like, what?
Oh yeah, I don't know what I did. It's always something tiny. But at what point did I misspell namespace? I wonder if it's happening on search. Search bar. Map action search. Search. Alright, well let's continue on, even though I still have my good code here.
That is
Okay, we got 15 minutes. Let's get this list going. So we have the data, right? So let's go ahead and showcase it. So let's go inside of our results list. We want to basically go through this result list. So let's go to Bootstrap. Let's go look at lists. At the top, we got components. And let's go to lists. List group. List group, and let's just copy this bad boy. This works. And see. And we'll paste it right in where results was. Paste. Add that in. And delete all of the LIs but one. So let's go ahead and add some stuff here. Let's first break this out into a block. And let's say that, okay, let's just loop through all these, all the results, and then print out a new LI. So let's do a v4 equals, I'm going to say result in results. So for every result in our results array, we're going to make a new LI. Sounds easy enough. So let's just say, item. If we type that and we run it, we should see something like this, but it just says item. If we type it again. And it's not going to work. So you guys have to let me know if it worked. So you should see item. Yep, just like that. Is it working? You getting that, Tyler? Trevor? Travis?
It's all matters of TR.
Okay, so we're getting that. So let's actually put some stuff in here. So we have the access to result. So let's just stick something on there. So for our case, let's do a strong. And inside of here, we're going to do double curlies. I'm going to say result dot what the hell is that we have to do? So if you look at the fetch, so we go to network. Is my search even work? Okay. So if you look at the actual response, it's going to be result dot snippet dot title. Let's try that. So at least we start getting the titles for each of the video. Good? All right. So now we need a thumbnail. Let's just pop that in there. So we'll do an image, source. We want it to be dynamic. So in order to make something dynamic, we're going to put a colon before the source. And then we're going to say result dot snippet dot thumbnails dot default URL. So it's pretty heavily nested. And then you should start seeing some thumbnails, and it's going to be all nasty because there's no styles. Good. So let's go fix those styles real quick because we can't live with that. So to do that, we're going to add one thing in here. We're going to say the style. I don't like using vanilla CSS. We're going to do some SCSS, some Sass. We're going to say lang equals SCSS. Now that's going to throw some errors. In order to fix that, we're going to stop this. We're going to do yarn add node Sass and Sass loader. So anytime you want to add SCSS to your Vue project, you have to add node Sass and Sass loader. We're almost to the finish line, guys. See if we can finish in 10 minutes.
So the reason why we use the colon instead of the two curly braces, so it's just because that's an actual attribute of the
Yeah, so if we don't use the colon, it's going to literally print out that string, results. So the source will literally be results.snippet.thumbnails.default.url.
You know, okay. Whenever we want to use JavaScript.
So if you want to use JavaScript, this is this colon right here. It's this exact same thing as doing that. But it won't work inside of here. They'll yell at you and be like, don't do that. It'll be like, instead, use the colon right there. And that's basically the same thing. So let's fix those styles. So now that it's running, let's do some styles. So we'll do dot list group item. Open it up. We're going to make that display flex. I'm going to say align items center. And then the image inside of it is going to have a margin right of 15 pixels. And that should help a lot. Oops, let me move it around. Your screen's too narrow. So about 15 inch. Or 13 inch screen. Uh-oh. Open up your console. There you go. You got some errors. Did you install typer thumbnails? So your thumbnails is undefined. So did you grab that right? Result, what? Check that. Here you go.
Not a sniper.
Not a
We're
sniper.
not grabbing a sniper.
It's the result sniper.
I like how the first thing that comes up in my phone is idiot test. This is fantastic. I appreciate that.
Cool. So that should look a little bit better. Now, let's bind an action to our list item. Oh, let's do one more thing. For the list group item, let's add one more property because we want to make it look like a link. So we'll say point or cursor. It's going to be pointer. So when we hover over it, it looks like a link. Okay. So we're getting the results. So they're looking great. Right? So now what we want to do is that when we click on a video, we want to actually show that video. So that's the last step. And then we're done. And hopefully you have something useful to kind of hack on. Okay. So if we go to our next component that we're going to be working on, which is a very easy one, it's our video player. Actually, let's do one more thing. On our results list, we need to actually bind a click event to our results list. So let's do that. So on our li, we're going to add one more property here. We're going to say at click, so on click, we're going to call a play function, play action that we're going to define in soon. And we're going to take results.id.video ID. When we click on it, we're going to run this play action. So let's go do that through the store. So let me know when you guys are ready, because we're going to dive into and create a new module, and this one's going to be pretty quick. Ready? So let's right click on search inside our modules. We're going to duplicate that, and we're going to say player. You create a player module. Whenever you create a new module, make sure you add it to the index. So let's go down to the store index and also add after search where you add player. And make sure you import that too. So we should have on line 4 player from modules player, and we're going to add it to our modules list on line 13. Stickies up when you're done with that. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to player, and let's delete a bunch of stuff. This one's going to be pretty easy. So let's delete all the stuff at the top. We don't need any of that anymore. Oops. And in our state, we're going to have just video ID. That's going to be an empty string. For our getters, we're going to have a getter that's going to return our video ID. Pretty simple. So make sure it's video ID, state video ID. We're going to have only one mutation type, which is going to be set video. And a very, very simple action is going to be play, which is the one we're doing on our quick event. It's going to be very similar to what we had. So we're going to have commit, state, and then we have video ID as part of our payload. And then we're going to do a very quick commit, which is going to take set video and pass the video ID. So whenever we hit play inside of our results list, we're already passing into it a video ID. All we're doing is that we're going to commit to the mutations, the video ID, and then that video ID is going to update the state. So we're going to delete our second key here and change this to, you guessed it, set video. It's going to take the state, it's going to take the video ID, and it's going to do what? Set the state dot video ID to video ID. Doesn't get much simpler than this gets. It's easy as it gets. Okay? Everything else stays the same. So now we want to have access to the actions like we had before. So we're going to go back to results. And we want to add backend methods. So we'll do methods. Open that up, and we're going to do ... map actions. We're going to look inside of which module? Player. And we're going to look for what function? What action? Right. Exactly. And there we go. You got it. So whenever we click on a LI, it should pass in the video ID to the store. Oh yeah, we need to import it. So we'll do map actions. So when you're ready, let's go to video player. And let's see if you guys can walk me through how to get the getter of video ID. So who wants to walk me through?
Sorry, will you import map action?
Hmm?
Okay.
Well, which one? Which file? I can open it.
The results list. It was just telling me that I should import video.
No, yeah, you have to just comment separate. All right. So walk me through how to set up a getter. So we're going to do a getter for our video ID inside of video player.
So then you import.
So we're importing map getters from Okay.
And
What's
you
that?
set up the computer method property.
Computed. Okay. Now what?
Then you need to do the spread for mouse ready.
Computers. What's the first argument?
Yes.
So player. And what's the second one?
Library user.
Video ID. All right, cool. So I think inside of here, video player, we're just gonna, let's just do an H1. And we'll do video ID. So when we click around, it should show a big, gigantic video ID as we click on the lists. And it's 10 o'clock, if anybody needs to leave right now, you guys can. Of course.
It's not weird, it's upsetting.
It's just get to put it on.
Yes, yes.
All you have to do is do the icon and you're done.
Okay, I'll stay. I'm such a relief right now.
Really insane.
I'm doing all right.
It's like keeping up with it.
You got time to.
I have a comedy angle and I don't want to
It tells you exactly what it's at.
find it. I'm still like looking at it. I'm like,
It tells you exactly what line, what file.
this is why it's past 9 o'clock. I should.
So it's like a quicker. So when you click, you go to the right. Oh, you can separate that. I click with on play, you're passing in the results. ID, video ID. Okay. So circuit state. You have the view. Second. So look at your events. So click on menus. You're finally set video. Or your window. So it looks like it's coming in undefined. So wherever you're setting it, it's not there. So underneath it. So it's just broken, but it's like fire in the back. You ready? If you're firing set video, do a console log video inside of your invitation.
But then,
So if you do a console log, no, okay.
what do you want to do? Like,
Go into the invitations inside of that right before line, or right after line 22. Console log video.
It's
Or this code,
phone.
it's undefined, so what is being passed into it from where? Should be result, right? Yeah, so if you look at click equals play, it should be result.id.video ID. Does everybody have that? Oh, good job. Okay. Is that what you guys have? Okay, so if it goes from there, let's go console log, and then it goes into player. So when we get the action, let's console log right here. After line 16, console log video ID. So video ID still undefined anything? Maybe it has something to do with, oh, you know what? What is the order you do your feed for?
Oh.
Okay, so when you pass it in, that's the part that's not repeated.
So it's not working with the
Oh, there's your problem. Take the curly like around video ID off. That's something like. You should be good. 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 So, very good. So, where are you consulting to use?
My understanding is the action is
So, let's go with so, what is that? That's, yeah. Okay. It's a default result of results. Play. Result of results. So it's running, definitely running play. So let's say, let's consider the result. So it's really testing. Right, Travis. Sorry.
Thank you, though. I pretty much got through it.
Yeah. The last thing was just putting the iframe
Right.
in there dynamically. That's cool. Thank you. So we almost made it through, guys. So if anybody wants to stay, I can help them out. Just get caught up. Otherwise, get out of here. Go.
Thank you. See you next time.
See ya.
When is the next time?
Next month.
Do you have the finished code somewhere?
Yeah, it's in my repo. So if you go to the Gitter, or not the Gitter, hey, if you go to the Gitter, you'll find my repo there. And it's just, you can just fork it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you work in here?
Yes. It's my place to live.
What are you guys doing here?
We sell ugly clothes.
It's really funny clothes, like really funny apparel. Like it's supposed to be like ugly sweaters and like Christmas apparel, but they're actually quite funny.
Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
That's where I
It's really
followed
funny.
it from.
Shark Tank?
Yeah. I remember that meme, but I didn't know why.
So you guys were on Shark Tank?
Mhm.
All right. So you guys went.
Yeah,
You got the
we got
investment?
we got the investment from Robert, 10%.
10%.
Mhm.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Alright. See you next month, guys.
Yeah, nice. Hopefully we can make it a little earlier next time.
Oh yeah. I was actually coming from LA, so
Oh.
there was a bit of traffic actually.
Ouch.
Yeah, I'm relocating though, so I'm definitely gonna be early next time.
Okay, cool. Okay. Thanks for coming out. Yes. Okay, you can have next time.
Yeah.